If you've watched the Shawshank Redemption, you probably have a halfway decent idea about what really goes down in prison. There's usually an entire social hierarchy within every facility, and the ones at the bottom get the short end of the straw, so to speak. There are murderers, serial killers, rapists, terrorists, and more. Prison guards try their best to somehow tame these convicts, but there's still a fraction of them who will remain what they became and do more crimes even if they're locked up for life. In this video, we will show you the top 10 most dangerous prison inmate of all time. Stick with us till the end to watch the scariest, craziest, and most dangerous inmate of all time. Number 10. John Wayne Gacy. You must have all heard of many miniseries and movies where a clown goes around kids scaring them and taking their lives. This is a good thing to watch and forget when the movie ends, but can be frightening if it happened in real life. Back in the 1980s, there was a real-life version of Pennywise named John Wayne Gacy. He was a normal man, husband and father, but there was a scary side of him that was later discovered. He started dressing up as a character that he called Pogo the Clown. Pogo was supposed to go to a children's party. During this, he took the lives of 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and late 1978. He has gone down in history to be one of the most scariest criminals to ever exist. Luckily, he was put behind bars and was executed with a lethal injection in late 1994. Number 9. Eyeball Man. Not only is he one of the scariest criminals, but this Eyeball Man is also one of the most dangerous-looking men. Jason Barnum, the Eyeball Man, was sentenced to 22 years in prison after he was found guilty of shooting an Alaska police officer. Barnum's offenses were driven by a serious heroin addiction. But this was not the only thing that caught media attention. He was also addicted to tattoos and has over 20 just on his face. He has a tattoo of a black eyeball, which is the reason why people call him the Eyeball Man. He also had tattoos all over his body and has a giant skull tattoo on the top of his head. Number 8. The Red Ripper. This man has a nickname, the Red Ripper, and is known to have raped and mutilated over 52 innocent women in England many years ago. This man's real name is Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo and was an infamous Soviet serial killer. This man was a suspect for many crimes and was in and out of jail due to the lack of evidence. But finally, in the year 1990, he was caught and confessed to taking 36 people's lives. Later, this statement was found to be an understatement, and he was convicted of doing this serious crime to 52 people in 1992. This dangerous crime got the police so furious that they took his life as a punishment. Number 7. Mark Chopper Red. Even though this man, Mark Chopper Red, passed away due to liver cancer in 2013, he is one of the scariest criminals. A movie was also based on his life due to his dangerous criminal methodology starring Eric Bana. Chopper was a street fighter when he was growing up, later became a leader of Surrey Road Gang. He began his criminal career by robbing drug dealers around Australia. He later graduated to kidnapping and torturing members of the criminal underworld. He often used a blowtorch or bolt cutters to remove toes of his victims as an incentive for them to produce enough money so that areas would leave them alive. Red only spent 13 months outside the prison between the ages of 20 and 38, having been convicted of crimes including armed robbery, firearm offenses, assault, arson, and kidnapping. Number 6. Monster. Here we have a criminal called a monster, who is a woman who was so evil that she suits to be called a monster. A movie was made on her and her crimes where Charlize Theron won many awards for playing her. Her real name is Eileen Wuornos, and she is one of the only women on our list. She took the lives of 7 men between 1989 and 1990. Unfortunately, she had a very rough childhood, but this cannot be a reason for her crime, right? She was caught and sent behind bars in the year of 1991. She spent more than 11 years in jail before she passed away. Even when she was in prison, she acted very crazy and freaked out all the judges. The reason she got such a harsh sentence was that she confessed she had no guilt feeling for this crime and she would happily do it again. Number 5. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson, originally called Charles Arthur Salvador, was referred to as the most violent prisoner in Britain. He gained such a reputation that a film was about his life, played by Tom Hardy in 2008, named as Bronson. He was first arrested as a petty criminal, was convicted and sentenced in 1974 for armed robbery. Upon his release in 1987, he began a bare-knuckle boxing career in the East End of London. He was returned to prison in 1988 after being convicted of planning another robbery. Due to his record of violent anger and mental illness in prison, Bronson was one of the highest-profile criminals in Britain. He says, "I am a nice guy, but sometimes I lose all my senses and become nasty. That doesn't make me evil, just confused." Number 4. Rodney ALCALA. On this number 4, we have not only the scariest and dangerous man ever, but one of the creepiest, Rodney ALCALA, and he was sentenced to death for 5 murders committed in that state between 1977 and 1979. He also received an additional sentence of 25 years to life after pleading guilty to 2 homicides committed in New York in 1971 and 1977. ALCALA's true victim count remains unknown and could be much higher. Another main thing about this man is he will always be remembered for appearing on a game show called The Dating Game. And surprisingly, he won the competition. He was introduced as a photographer, so many of his victims were models. Number 3. Ted Kaczynski. There are hardly any people who can argue against the intelligence of this man. However, he decided to use his intelligence in the criminal world, which took a scary turn for the people. Kaczynski was a mathematics prodigy, but he abandoned his academic career in 1969 to pursue a primitive life. Between 1978 and 1995, he killed 3 people and injured 23 others in a nationwide bombing campaign against people he believed to be advancing modern technology and the destruction of the environment. Kaczynski was the subject of the longest and most expensive investigation in the history of the Federal Bureau of Investigation up to that point. The FBI used the case indenture Unabomb, University and Airline Bomber, to refer to his case before his identity was known, which resulted in the media naming him the Unabomber. After his arrest in 1996, he was sentenced to 8 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Number 2. Underwear Strangler. Hearing this name, you might have already guessed this guy is really strange. His real name is Johann Unterweger, an Austrian serial killer and journalist with an itinerant approach to murder, striking in multiple countries such as Germany, America, and Czechoslovakia. During his youth, he was in and out of jail for petty theft and things like that. But in 1974, he changed for the worse. He strangled a woman with her bra until she passed. After that, he did it to more than 40 women and moved to LA, where he committed this crime for more women. He was caught and put in prison, however was freed later on. He went to do it more times than the LAPD stopped him and then was given a life sentence. The creepy thing about this guy is he was writing for magazines during all of this, and people didn't even know how serious a crime he was committing. Number 1. Barry Mills. Barry Mills was an American convicted criminal and leader of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang. Nicknamed the Baron, he was incarcerated in the California state prison system at a young age, where he rose within the AB organization during the 1970s and 80s. Mills entered the California state prison system after an armed robbery in 1969 and was in jail from then on. He became involved with the AB in San Quentin prison, where the group originated in 1964. He was convicted of nearly decapitating another inmate, John Marsloff, over a gambling debt at USP Atlanta in 1979. Mills was convicted of murder and got sent back to the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility Prison, or ADX, in Florence, Colorado, after he was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Mills died on July 8, 2018, at the age of 70 in prison. No walls nor bars would stop these dangerous inmates on planning and committing violence as if they were still outside and free. Which inmates and their crimes shocked you? Do you have a list of top 10 things you want us to feature? Let us know in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos.